In a world that is constantly changing, where challenges and uncertainties seem never-ending, the timeless teachings of Buddha offer a beacon of light. As he faced the final chapter of his life, Buddha's journey was not just a passage through physical space, it was a profound demonstration of how to live with purpose, resilience, and compassion. In this video, we explore the deeper meaning of Buddha's final journey and his last teachings. Lessons that resonate with us today more than ever. Join me as we reflect on how Buddha's wisdom can guide us through life's trials, inspire personal transformation, and lead us to a life of peace and purpose. But this isn't just about learning his teachings, it's about living them. Let's dive deep into Buddha's message and discover how we can apply it to our own lives. And if you find this video inspiring, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Together, let's continue this journey of wisdom and growth. 1. Buddha's final journey, a pilgrimage of impermanence. Buddha's final journey wasn't just a physical trek. It was an embodiment of his entire spiritual path. At 80 years old, when most people would have retreated to a quiet life of rest, Buddha chose to walk toward his death. He continued to share his wisdom with the world. This was no ordinary journey, it was a pilgrimage of impermanence. It was a living lesson in resilience, a poignant demonstration of the teachings he had shared for decades. A lesson in resilience. What stands out most about Buddha's final journey is his resilience. He knew his body was failing, yet he persisted. He didn't shy away from the inevitable. Instead, he faced it head-on. He taught the world how to embrace life's impermanence with grace. In many ways, his journey can be compared to a person facing a terminal illness with dignity. Someone who chooses to live every moment fully, not in denial of death, but with acceptance. Think of Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. Jobs, like Buddha, knew his end was coming, but he kept working, sharing ideas, and staying engaged with the world. His commitment to creating something lasting, even as his body weakened, mirrors Buddha's resolve to continue his pilgrimage despite his frailty. In Buddha's case, his pilgrimage to Kushinagar was a conscious act of resilience. His body was failing, but his mind was sharp. He wasn't just walking to a physical destination. He was walking toward the inevitable with wisdom and awareness. Each step was a lesson in acceptance and mindfulness. Even as his body deteriorated, his teachings remained clear. He continued to offer guidance to anyone who needed it. He taught that life, like his journey, is about perseverance. It's not about avoiding suffering, but embracing it as part of the human experience. Impermanence on the road. As Buddha traveled, word spread about his condition. People asked him why. In his frail state, he continued his journey. His response was simple yet profound. Just as the river flows toward the sea, it follows its course. Similarly, all things in life must move toward their end. This journey is a part of that movement. These words carry a deep truth about impermanence. Buddha's final journey was not a fluke, it was a natural progression of all things. Everything in life is transient, nothing is permanent. To drive this point home, Buddha didn't choose a restful, secluded end. He continued his journey just as the river flows to the ocean. As everything in life must eventually dissolve. This concept of impermanence is also seen in the lives of other great leaders. Take Alexander the Great. For example, known for his military conquests, Alexander's empire stretched from Greece to India. But his reign was tragically short-lived. At the age of 32, he died from a fever. Just like Buddha, he couldn't escape the ultimate reality of impermanence. Before he died, Alexander is said to have named no heir to his throne, telling his generals, "To the strongest." This reflects the fragility of life. No matter how powerful or successful you are, everything eventually comes to an end. Buddha's teachings on impermanence emphasize that everything, our lives, our experiences, and even our most cherished possessions, are transient. The way Buddha lived out his final days became a living example of what it means to face life's inevitable end with clarity, understanding, and peace. Buddha didn't avoid death, he embraced it. By continuing his journey, even though he knew his end was near, Buddha taught his followers how to live fully in each moment, knowing that it would eventually pass. Facing challenges with grace. As Buddha continued his pilgrimage, his health deteriorated further. Yet he never stopped walking. He didn't make excuses or allow his suffering to prevent him from teaching. It's a remarkable display of resilience. It challenges us to reflect on our own responses to adversity. How often do we allow our difficulties to hold us back? How often do we let fear or discomfort keep us from moving forward? Think about someone like Malala Yousafzai. After surviving a gunshot to the head by the Taliban, she didn't retreat into fear or isolation. Instead, she became an even stronger advocate for education and women's rights. Like Buddha, she didn't allow her suffering to define her. She used it as fuel to continue her mission in the world. Buddha's final journey reminds us that we all face hardships in life. But it's how we respond to them that truly matters. In Buddha's case, every village he passed through became a teaching moment. His body was weak, but his teachings remained strong. He continued to spread messages of compassion, mindfulness, and impermanence. He offered comfort to those who needed it most. His actions, more than his words, demonstrated the essence of his teachings. No matter how difficult life may be, we must move forward with awareness, grace, and acceptance. The journey's true meaning. As Buddha neared Kushinagar, his disciples and followers were deeply concerned about his condition. But Buddha, ever the teacher, used his own body as a lesson in impermanence. He knew the end was coming. Rather than running from it, he embraced it with equanimity. It was a final demonstration of everything he had taught. All things are impermanent, and death is simply another transition. By continuing to teach along the way, even as his body failed him, Buddha showed us that the journey is just as important as the destination. His pilgrimage wasn't merely about reaching Kushinagar, it was about living each step, each breath, with full awareness of its fleeting nature. He could have retreated, but instead, he chose to continue. He showed us that life is not just about the end. It's about how we live each moment, aware of its impermanence, yet fully engaged. In a world where many of us try to avoid the uncomfortable truths of life, like aging, sickness, and death, Buddha's final journey reminds us that we don't have to fear these experiences. Instead, we can face them with the same mindfulness and resilience that Buddha embodied in his final days. It's not the destination that matters most, it's how we walk the path. Every step of the way. With grace, awareness, and acceptance. Buddha's last journey wasn't just a personal act of courage. It was a universal teaching. It reminds us that we, too, must walk the path of life, fully present in each moment, embracing the impermanence of all things, continuing on with resilience, no matter the obstacles we face. 2. The power of mindfulness, the Buddha's teachings on living in the present moment. One of the core elements of the Buddha's philosophy is mindfulness. It's about being fully aware and present in each moment. This simple yet profound practice has been a cornerstone of Buddhist teachings for over 2 millennia. Through mindfulness, the Buddha taught that we can free ourselves from the grip of anxiety, attachment, and suffering. We can do this by embracing the present moment, without clinging to the past or anxiously anticipating the future. In today's fast-paced world, where distraction is everywhere, the Buddha's teachings on mindfulness are more relevant than ever. The Buddha's mindfulness practice. Buddha's teachings on mindfulness aren't just abstract concepts. They are practical tools for living a more peaceful and aware life. Mindfulness, or sati in Pali, means paying attention with full awareness to the present moment, without judgment. In the Buddha's time, it was taught as a way to escape the cycle of suffering and ignorance, or samsara, which is perpetuated by our mindless habits and unexamined thoughts. Buddha famously said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." This simple statement is an invitation to take responsibility for our mental state. It reminds us that our thoughts shape our reality. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to recognize and direct our thoughts. We understand that they are not who we are, but temporary experiences passing through the mind. This awareness allows us to break free from the constant stream of mental chatter, fears, and desires that often dictate our actions. Mindfulness also invites us to observe our thoughts and emotions with a sense of detachment. Instead of reacting impulsively, we learn to simply observe without judgment. This practice helps us break the cycle of unconscious reactivity and allows us to act with greater clarity and intention. It's a practice that transforms our relationship to life, encouraging us to meet every moment, even the painful ones, with acceptance and presence. Living in the present, the power of awareness. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is its ability to anchor us in the present moment. When we are truly present, we are free from regret about the past and worry about the future. We can experience life as it is, without the distortion of our memories or anxieties. Mindfulness encourages us to bring our full attention to whatever we are doing. Whether it's a conversation, a task, or simply breathing. Take, for example, the life of Nelson Mandela. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, often in harsh conditions. But he didn't allow himself to be consumed by bitterness or regret. Instead, He practiced mindfulness in a sense, by fully embracing the present moment, whether in his solitude or amidst his struggles. This allowed him to maintain inner peace despite external circumstances. His ability to stay grounded in the present, to focus on the task at hand, and to not get lost in anger or resentment played a crucial role in his success and eventual leadership in South Africa's transition to democracy. Buddha's teaching about living in the present is particularly important in the context of suffering. Many people experienced suffering not because of what is happening right now, but because they are trapped in thoughts about the past or the future. They replay old regrets or fear what might come. Buddha taught that true freedom comes when we stop chasing after the future or dwelling on the past. Instead, we bring all our attention to the present moment. The Buddha's teachings were not only theoretical, they were grounded in everyday life. He suggested that we can practice mindfulness in all things, whether we're walking, eating, working, or interacting with others. Every moment, no matter how mundane, can be an opportunity for mindfulness. The simple act of walking, for instance, can become an act of meditation. Buddha taught his followers to walk mindfully, paying attention to every step, feeling the earth beneath their feet, noticing how the body moves, and being aware of the breath. The mindfulness of great leaders, the example of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, the leader of India's independence movement, is another powerful example of mindfulness in action. Gandhi was deeply influenced by Buddhist philosophy. One of his key teachings was nonviolence or ahimsa. His practice of nonviolence wasn't just about physical actions, but also about mental discipline. He understood that in order to act with compassion and peace, he first needed to cultivate inner peace through mindfulness. Gandhi famously said, "You must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is an ocean. If a few drops of the ocean are dirty, the ocean does not become dirty." In these words, Gandhi reflects the idea that our mindfulness practice can help us maintain our clarity and purity, no matter how chaotic or challenging the world around us may be. His ability to stay present in the face of adversity, to resist hatred and anger despite the immense suffering caused by British colonialism, showed how mindfulness can guide us in making peaceful, compassionate choices. Mindfulness in action, the present moment as a gateway to inner peace. At its core, mindfulness is about recognizing the impermanence of all things, our thoughts, our emotions, and the events of our lives. Just as Buddha taught us to embrace impermanence in his final journey, mindfulness asks us to embrace the fleeting nature of each moment. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we become attuned to the present and less attached to the past or future. Buddha's mindfulness teachings also emphasize the importance of cultivating compassion and awareness for others. In our busy lives, it's easy to become self-absorbed, to forget to truly listen to others or to be present in our relationships. Buddha encouraged his followers to practice mindfulness not only for their own peace, but also as a way to connect more deeply with others. The more present we are, the more we can offer genuine compassion and love, without distractions or judgments. Take, for instance, the way some people approach their work or relationships. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to be distracted, We often think about what's next rather than fully engaging in the moment. But leaders like Oprah Winfrey, who has built an empire of influence, often speak about the importance of being present with people. Oprah emphasizes the significance of being in the moment during interviews. She pays full attention to those she's speaking with, showing genuine interest and listening deeply. This is a reflection of mindfulness in action. It's what makes her interactions so impactful and transformative. The journey to inner peace. Buddha's teachings on mindfulness provide a powerful path to inner peace. Mindfulness allows us to approach life with greater clarity, understanding, and compassion. It teaches us that while suffering is inevitable, how we respond to it is up to us. By cultivating awareness in each moment, we can navigate the ups and downs of life with more equanimity and wisdom. In our modern world, where distractions are everywhere, practicing mindfulness is more important than ever. It's a powerful antidote to the anxiety, stress, and disconnection that so many of us experience. Like Buddha, we too can walk the path of mindfulness, embracing each moment with awareness and grace. Ultimately, we can find peace in the present, no matter the challenges life brings. 3. The pursuit of wisdom. Buddha's teachings on right understanding and enlightenment. In the Buddhist tradition, wisdom, or prajna, is considered one of the essential pillars of the path to enlightenment. It is through wisdom that we come to see the world as it truly is, free from illusion, delusion, and ignorance. Buddha's teachings on wisdom form the foundation of his entire philosophy, and provide a roadmap for how to navigate life's complexities with clarity and understanding. Right understanding, the first step in the Noble Eightfold Path. One of the key elements of Buddha's path to enlightenment is right understanding. The first step in the Noble Eightfold Path. Right understanding refers to seeing the world clearly and understanding the nature of reality as it truly is. This understanding is free from the distortions created by our attachments, desires, and prejudices. Buddha taught that life is marked by the Four Noble Truths: suffering, dukkha, its causes, the possibility of cessation, and the path that leads to the end of suffering. Wisdom begins with understanding these truths deeply and seeing how they apply to our own lives. Take, for example, the famous philosopher and spiritual leader Socrates. He believed that the unexamined life is not worth living. While Socrates and Buddha lived in different times and places, they shared a similar understanding of wisdom. For both, true wisdom is not just intellectual knowledge, but an experiential understanding of life's deepest truths. Socrates encouraged his followers to question assumptions and seek truth through dialogue and reflection. Similarly, Buddha's teachings on right understanding ask us to examine the nature of suffering, its causes, and how we can free ourselves from it through mindfulness, ethical living, and wisdom. Wisdom and the nature of impermanence. A central theme in Buddha's teachings is the concept of impermanence, or anicca. Everything in life is in a constant state of flux: our bodies, our emotions, our relationships, and even the material world around us. Wisdom, according to Buddha, comes from understanding that nothing is permanent, and that attachment to things or people only leads to suffering. Consider the life of Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Inc. Jobs, renowned for his visionary thinking and relentless pursuit of innovation, also had a deep awareness of impermanence, especially in his later years when he was diagnosed with cancer. Jobs once said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do." Jobs understood that life is finite. And therefore, he urged people to dedicate themselves to meaningful pursuits while they still had time. His approach echoes the Buddha's message that, while everything is impermanent, we can still live a life of purpose by aligning our actions with wisdom, love, and authenticity. Wisdom and the end of suffering. Buddha's teachings on wisdom also directly address the nature of suffering, dukkha. Suffering is an inherent part of human existence. But it is not a permanent state. Wisdom teaches us to recognize the causes of suffering, such as attachment, ignorance, and craving, and to understand that these are not fixed or unchangeable. With wisdom, we learn to break free from these attachments, and in doing so, we liberate ourselves from suffering. Take the example of Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, who found profound wisdom in the midst of extreme suffering. Frankl wrote in his book Man's Search for Meaning, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Frankl's wisdom came from his ability to see that, while he could not change the circumstances of his imprisonment, he could choose how to respond. This is a core teaching of Buddha. Suffering arises, but through right understanding, we can shift our perspective and choose how to react, thus reducing the impact of suffering on our lives. The role of meditation in cultivating wisdom. Buddha taught that meditation is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating wisdom. Through the practice of mindfulness and concentration, we begin to peel away the layers of illusion and distraction that obscure our true nature. Meditation helps us develop the clarity of mind needed to see the impermanent and interconnected nature of all things. One of the most powerful examples of meditation leading to wisdom comes from the life of the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso. The Dalai Lama has long been an advocate of meditation as a path to wisdom and compassion. In his teachings, he often speaks about how meditation helped him gain insight into the nature of suffering and how to respond with compassion. He is known for his emphasis on the importance of inner peace, saying, "We can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace with ourselves." His meditation practice, much like that of the Buddha, involves cultivating mindfulness, awareness, and compassion toward all beings, regardless of the circumstances. The wisdom of compassion, the heart of Buddha's teachings. Wisdom, in the Buddhist tradition, is not just intellectual knowledge, it is deeply tied to compassion, karuna. True wisdom is seen in how we respond to the suffering of others. Buddha taught that wisdom and compassion must go hand in hand. One cannot truly understand the nature of suffering without also developing a deep empathy for those who are suffering. A modern example of this wisdom in action is Malala Yousafzai, the youngest ever Nobel Prize laureate and an advocate for girls' education. Malala has faced tremendous adversity, but her wisdom has been in her ability to see the greater good and to advocate for others, despite the danger to herself. In her book I Am Malala, she writes, "One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world." Malala's understanding of suffering, both her own and the suffering of millions of girls denied an education, has fueled her mission to bring about change through education and activism. Her wisdom is grounded not just in intellectual insight, but in the compassion to act for the benefit of others. Wisdom and enlightenment, the ultimate goal. Ultimately, the goal of Buddhist wisdom is enlightenment, nirvana. The cessation of suffering and the attainment of profound inner peace. Enlightenment is not a distant or abstract goal. It is something that can be realized in this lifetime through the cultivation of wisdom, ethical living, and mindfulness. The Buddha's life itself serves as a powerful example of how wisdom leads to liberation. When Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, first left his royal life in search of answers, he did so with a deep commitment to understanding the nature of suffering. Through years of meditation, self-discipline, and insight, he reached the state of enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. He realized that true freedom comes from seeing the world as it is, impermanent, interconnected, and without an inherently fixed self. In the modern world, the pursuit of wisdom is just as important as it was in Buddha's time. Whether through intellectual exploration, meditation, or simply living with awareness and compassion, we can all take steps toward wisdom. Like Buddha, we can cultivate an understanding of the world and our place in it that frees us from suffering, leads us toward inner peace, and allows us to act with compassion and clarity in every moment of our lives. 4. The power of mindfulness, Buddha's teachings on living with awareness. Mindfulness, or sati, is one of the cornerstones of Buddhist practice and is considered an essential tool for cultivating awareness, presence, and insight. It is the practice of being fully aware of the present moment, without judgment, attachment, or distraction. Through mindfulness, we develop the capacity to see things as they truly are, cultivating clarity, focus, and a deep understanding of the nature of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. The essence of mindfulness in Buddha's teachings. Buddha taught that mindfulness is the key to overcoming suffering and gaining insight into the true nature of reality. In his Satipatthana Sutta, he outlined the 4 foundations of mindfulness: mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of mental objects. These foundations guide practitioners in cultivating awareness in all aspects of their lives, helping them to break free from the distractions and attachments that lead to suffering. One of the most famous figures in modern mindfulness practice is Jon Kabat-Zinn, the creator of the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction (MBSR) program. Kabat-Zinn has brought mindfulness into the mainstream, particularly in the context of health and wellness, helping people from all walks of life deal with stress, pain, and emotional challenges. His definition of mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally mirrors the Buddha's teachings on mindfulness. Like Buddha, Kabat-Zinn emphasizes that mindfulness is not just a mental exercise but a way of life, an intentional and ongoing practice of paying attention to what is happening right now. without being swept away by the past or future. Mindfulness and the nature of suffering. In Buddha's teachings, mindfulness is directly linked to understanding the nature of suffering, dukkha. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we cling to things as permanent, when we attach to transient experiences, and when we resist the natural flow of life. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without reacting to them or becoming attached to them. This non-reactive awareness helps us break free from the cycle of suffering and leads to greater peace and equanimity. Consider the life of Eckhart Tolle, author of The Power of Now, who teaches a modern interpretation of mindfulness and presence. Tolle's insights into the human experience echo the Buddha's teachings on suffering and attachment. Tolle writes, "The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation but your thoughts about it." This statement reflects Buddha's insight that much of our suffering comes not from external circumstances, but from the way we interpret and react to those circumstances. By practicing mindfulness, we can begin to shift our mental patterns and free ourselves from the mental chains of anxiety, regret, and desire. Mindfulness in everyday life. Buddha's teachings on mindfulness are not limited to formal meditation practices. He emphasized that mindfulness must permeate every aspect of our daily lives. Whether we are eating, walking, working, or interacting with others, mindfulness involves being fully present and aware of our actions, thoughts, and emotions. This awareness brings a sense of clarity and peace, allowing us to make more conscious choices and to live with greater purpose and intention. Take the example of Barack Obama, who has spoken openly about his practice of mindfulness and meditation, particularly in the context of his presidency. Obama described how he would take time each day to practice mindfulness and to focus on being present in the moment, even amidst the pressures of leading a nation. He has said, "I find it helpful to just stop and take a few deep breaths." For Obama, mindfulness allowed him to approach the challenges of his job with a sense of calm and perspective, and to remain grounded despite the many demands on his time and attention. Similarly, the famous chef and author, Anthony Bourdain, often emphasized the importance of mindfulness in his work, especially when it came to his appreciation for food and culture. In his travel series, Parts Unknown, Bourdain's ability to be present in the moment and to deeply engage with the people and cultures he encountered reflected the very essence of mindfulness. His approach to life was rooted in the idea of being present, open, and fully engaged with the world around him. Much like Buddha's call to live with awareness and attention to the present moment. Mindfulness and emotional balance. One of the greatest benefits of mindfulness is its ability to bring emotional balance and stability. Buddha taught that we often suffer because we are at the mercy of our emotions, which are constantly shifting and changing. Mindfulness allows us to recognize these emotions as they arise, without getting caught up in them or allowing them to control us. This awareness creates a space between stimulus and response, giving us the ability to choose how to react rather than being driven by our impulses. An example of emotional balance in action can be seen in the life of Oprah Winfrey. Winfrey, a well-known advocate for mindfulness and meditation, has often spoken about how her practice has helped her navigate the emotional highs and lows of her personal and professional life. She has said, "Meditation is the most important thing I do. I do it every day. It is a foundation that has helped me in my career, in my relationships, and in every area of my life." For Winfrey, mindfulness has been a tool for cultivating emotional intelligence and staying grounded, no matter the challenges she faces. The impact of mindfulness on mental health. Buddha's teachings on mindfulness have found profound resonance in modern psychology and mental health practices. Mindfulness-based therapies, such as mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, and dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, have been shown to be effective in treating a wide range of mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, and trauma. By cultivating mindfulness, individuals learn to approach their thoughts and emotions with greater clarity, understanding, and self-compassion. One notable figure in the field of mindfulness and mental health is Dr. Marsha Linehan, the creator of dialectical behavior therapy, DBT. Linehan developed DBT as a treatment for individuals with borderline personality disorder, but it has since been applied to a variety of mental health conditions. DBT emphasizes mindfulness as a core practice, teaching individuals to stay present with their emotions without judgment. Linehan's work echoes Buddha's insight that mindfulness can help us transform our relationship with our thoughts and emotions, leading to greater emotional resilience and mental well-being. Mindfulness and the path to liberation. Ultimately, mindfulness is not just a tool for dealing with stress or emotional challenges, it is a path to liberation. Buddha taught that through mindfulness, we can gain insight into the nature of our mind and the world around us. This understanding leads to the dissolution of ignorance and attachment, and ultimately to the cessation of suffering. Through sustained mindfulness practice, we awaken to the truth of impermanence, interdependence, and the interconnectedness of all things, and we come to experience the world with greater wisdom, compassion, and freedom. A modern example of this transformation through mindfulness can be seen in the life of Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen master and peace activist. Thich Nhat Hanh taught that mindfulness is not just about quieting the mind, but about being fully present in every moment. Whether we are walking, eating, or interacting with others. His teachings emphasize that mindfulness leads to peace, both within ourselves and in the world around us. Thich Nhat Hanh's life and work serve as a powerful testament to the transformative power of mindfulness, not only as a spiritual practice but as a way of living with awareness, compassion, and love. Through mindfulness, we can transform our relationship with our thoughts, emotions, and experiences, leading to a life of greater peace, balance, and liberation. Like the Buddha, we can cultivate the awareness that allows us to see things as they truly are, impermanent, interconnected, and full of potential for growth and transformation. By practicing mindfulness in our everyday lives, we walk the path toward enlightenment, cultivating the clarity and wisdom needed to free ourselves from suffering and live with greater freedom, compassion, and joy. 5. Wisdom in action, compassion and the Bodhisattva ideal. Wisdom in Buddhism is not just about understanding the nature of reality. It's about applying that understanding to help others and alleviate suffering. In Mahayana Buddhism, The Bodhisattva ideal represents wisdom in action. A bodhisattva is someone who has reached enlightenment but chooses to stay in the world out of compassion, helping others achieve liberation. The Dalai Lama, one of the most famous contemporary bodhisattvas, is a great example of this. He teaches that true wisdom isn't just intellectual knowledge. It's about acting with compassion. His Holiness often says, "My religion is very simple. My religion is kindness." He shows that wisdom and compassion go hand in hand, they cannot exist without each other. Another modern figure who embodies wisdom in action is Malala Yousafzai. After surviving an attack for advocating girls' education, Malala didn't let suffering defeat her. She continued to fight for education and human rights worldwide. Her journey shows the power of applying wisdom with compassion. She understands the transformative power of education and uses her experience to bring positive change to the world. Malala's story reflects the Bodhisattva's commitment to alleviating suffering and spreading wisdom. By using her own suffering as a source of strength, she has helped millions around the world, exemplifying what it means to embody wisdom in action. The transformative power of insight. Wisdom in Buddhism is transformative because it's not just about understanding the nature of suffering, but about finding the way out of it. Insight into the true nature of reality brings freedom, clarity, and peace. Wisdom teaches us to detach from our desires and see the impermanence of life. It helps us understand that our true nature isn't defined by possessions or external circumstances. This wisdom allows us to live in harmony with the world, free from the distortions caused by attachment. The Buddha himself is a powerful example of wisdom's transformative power. After his enlightenment, the Buddha spent the rest of his life teaching others how to achieve the same insight and liberation he had found. Similarly, leaders like Barack Obama demonstrate the transformative power of wisdom in their actions. As the 44th President of the United States, Obama faced many challenges, from political divisions to economic crises. His leadership reflected wisdom in action. His ability to navigate complex issues, act with compassion, and see the interconnectedness of challenges demonstrates how wisdom can bring about change. Conclusion: living with wisdom. The path to wisdom is a lifelong journey of self-discovery, meditation, and reflection. By cultivating right understanding, we can see the world as it truly is, beyond illusions. When we act with wisdom, we not only free ourselves from suffering but also bring compassion to the world around us. Buddha's teachings offer us a path to liberation. Through insight, we can transform our lives and the world. By embracing wisdom, we live with greater clarity, peace, and compassion, ultimately fulfilling our highest potential as human beings. 6. The Path of Wisdom, Buddha's teachings on insight and understanding. Buddha's journey wasn't just physical. It was a profound path of mental and spiritual discovery. A central theme of his teachings was prajna, wisdom or insight. In Buddhism, wisdom is more than intellectual knowledge. It's the deep understanding of reality, the truth of suffering, and how to overcome it. Buddha's teachings help us see the world as it truly is, beyond the illusions of desire, attachment, and misconception. The role of meditation in gaining wisdom. For the Buddha, Meditation was the key to cultivating wisdom. His enlightenment came from deep meditation under the Bodhi tree. In meditation, he saw the nature of suffering and its causes. Buddha emphasized mindfulness meditation, vipassana, to develop insight. By observing our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment, we see the impermanent, unsatisfactory, and interdependent nature of all things. Meditation helps us develop insight, the ability to see the true nature of reality. In Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha explains mindfulness should be applied to the body, feelings, mind, and mental phenomena. Through disciplined practice, we discern the truth beyond appearances. This wisdom transforms us, freeing us from delusion and suffering. Thich Nhat Hanh, a modern Buddhist teacher, emphasized mindfulness. He said, "The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth in the present moment." His teachings remind us that wisdom comes from truly seeing the world as it is. The importance of right understanding. In Buddhism, right understanding, samadhi, is the first step of the Noble Eightfold Path. It's about seeing the world as it truly is, without distortion from desires, attachments, or fears. Right understanding means knowing the Four Noble Truths, recognizing impermanence, and seeing the interconnection of all things. Martin Luther King Jr. exemplified right understanding. His civil rights work was grounded in justice, equality, and nonviolence. King understood the interconnectedness of all people. His insight into human dignity allowed him to lead with wisdom and compassion. He said, "The time is always right to do what is right." Understanding the nature of suffering. A core aspect of wisdom in Buddhism is understanding suffering, or dukkha. The Buddha taught that suffering is part of life. It's not to be feared. Instead, suffering reveals life's impermanence and unsatisfactory nature. By recognizing this, we can let go of attachment and transcend suffering. Helen Keller's life shows us how to overcome suffering. Born deaf and blind, she could have fallen into despair. But she used her suffering to deepen her wisdom. She wrote, "Although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it." Her resilience shows how wisdom can transform challenges. Socrates also embodied wisdom in suffering. He believed the pursuit of wisdom was the highest good, even in hardship. When sentenced to death, Socrates accepted his fate with calm wisdom. He understood death as part of life's cycle. His example mirrors Buddha's teaching on embracing suffering for deeper understanding. Wisdom in action, compassion and the Bodhisattva ideal. Wisdom in Buddhism is not just understanding reality. It's applying that understanding to alleviate suffering. The Bodhisattva ideal represents wisdom in action. A Bodhisattva is enlightened but stays in the world to help others. The Dalai Lama is a modern Bodhisattva. He teaches that true wisdom is not knowledge, but compassion. He often says, "My religion is very simple. My religion is kindness." His life shows that wisdom and compassion must go together. Malala Yousafzai also embodies wisdom in action. After surviving an attack for advocating girls' education, she continues to promote education and human rights. Her journey reflects the Bodhisattva's commitment to alleviating suffering and creating change. The transformative power of insight. Buddhist wisdom is transformative. It helps us understand suffering and shows us the way out. Insight into reality brings freedom, clarity, and peace. Wisdom teaches us to detach from desires, see life's impermanence, and recognize that our true nature is not defined by external circumstances. This wisdom helps us live harmoniously, free from attachment. The Buddha's story is an example of wisdom's transformative power. After his enlightenment, he spent his life teaching others how to attain insight and liberation. Barack Obama also demonstrated wisdom in leadership. He faced many challenges as president, but his commitment to justice and equality showed deep wisdom. Obama's ability to act with compassion demonstrates wisdom in action. Conclusion: living with wisdom. The path to wisdom is a lifelong journey of self-discovery and meditation. By cultivating right understanding, we can see the world as it truly is, beyond illusions. By acting with wisdom, we free ourselves from suffering and bring compassion to the world. Buddha's teachings offer a path to liberation. Through insight, we can transform our lives and the world. By embracing wisdom, we live with greater clarity, peace, and compassion. We fulfill our highest potential as human beings. 7. The final teachings, Buddha's legacy of compassion and equanimity. Buddha's final teachings, delivered just before his passing in Kushinagar, were a culmination of his life's work. These last instructions, focused on living with mindfulness, compassion, and equanimity, offer profound guidance for us today. As he lay dying, Buddha's words emphasize the importance of self-reliance, the transient nature of life, and the need to remain equanimous in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Self-reliance, the Buddha's call to take responsibility for our own liberation. One of Buddha's most enduring messages in his final teachings was the call for self-reliance. He urged his followers not to rely on others, whether it be a teacher, a guru, or even the Buddha himself, for their enlightenment. Instead, he emphasized that each person must take responsibility for their own path. Buddha said, "Be a lamp unto yourselves. Be your own refuge. Take yourselves to no external refuge. Hold fast to the truth as a lamp. Hold fast to the truth as a refuge. Look not for refuge to anyone besides yourselves." This message of self-reliance speaks to the ultimate responsibility we have for our own personal growth and spiritual development. Buddha's teachings encourage us to cultivate the tools of mindfulness, meditation, and wisdom to navigate our lives. Rather than passively waiting for change, we are called to actively participate in our own awakening. A modern figure who embodies this spirit of self-reliance is Oprah Winfrey. Raised in poverty and facing numerous hardships, Oprah found strength in her own ability to change her circumstances. Through hard work, self-awareness, and resilience, she transformed herself into a global media mogul and philanthropist. Oprah often speaks about the importance of taking control of one's own narrative and being the author of one's life. In many ways, she exemplifies Buddha's final call to be a lamp unto oneself, relying on inner wisdom and resilience to create a fulfilling and impactful life. Compassion, the heart of Buddha's teachings. The Buddha's teachings consistently emphasized the importance of compassion. In his final moments, he reiterated that compassion for all living beings is the cornerstone of spiritual practice. Buddha taught that through compassion, we transcend selfish desires and connect with others on a profound level. His practice of loving kindness, metta, extended to all sentient beings, regardless of their actions or status. Buddha's compassion was boundless, and he encouraged his followers to develop a similar attitude of loving kindness toward everyone, including those who may have wronged them. A striking example of compassion in modern times is found in the life of Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi's nonviolent resistance to British colonial rule in India was rooted in a deep commitment to compassion and love. He famously said, "An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind." Gandhi believed that true power came from love and understanding, not from force or retaliation. His approach to conflict was grounded in the idea of compassionate action, a principle that mirrors the Buddha's teachings on loving kindness and compassion for all beings. Compassion is not just a passive feeling, it is an active force that drives us to alleviate the suffering of others. As the Dalai Lama often teaches, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. This idea aligns perfectly with Buddha's final instructions, reminding us that the essence of a meaningful life lies in how we relate to others with kindness and understanding. Equanimity, staying calm in the face of adversity. Another key aspect of Buddha's final teachings was the importance of equanimity. Buddha taught that to live peacefully, one must cultivate a mind that remains balanced in the face of both success and failure, pleasure and pain. He encouraged his followers to practice upekkha, equanimity, a state of mind where one remains unaffected by external circumstances and maintains inner peace regardless of what is happening in the world. This teaching on equanimity is particularly relevant in today's fast-paced, often chaotic world. It is easy to become overwhelmed by the ups and downs of life, whether it be stress at work, conflicts in relationships, or the constant stream of negative news. Buddha's message reminds us that we do not have to be slaves to these external forces. Through mindfulness and meditation, we can cultivate a sense of balance and inner calm that allows us to navigate life's challenges with grace. A contemporary example of someone who embodies equanimity is Nelson Mandela. Throughout his 27 years of imprisonment, Mandela maintained a sense of inner peace and unwavering commitment to justice. Upon his release, he chose reconciliation over revenge, showing equanimity in the face of the political and personal turmoil that could have consumed him. Mandela's ability to maintain a peaceful mind, even in the most difficult of circumstances, is a powerful demonstration of Buddha's teaching on equanimity, impermanence and the acceptance of change. Buddha's final teachings also focused on the inevitability of change. He encouraged his followers to accept the impermanence of all things, both the good and the bad. Buddha's own life was a testament to the fleeting nature of existence. He taught that attachment to things that are temporary leads to suffering, and the key to transcending suffering is to develop a deep understanding of impermanence. He said, "All things are subject to change. The only constant in life is change." Buddha's emphasis on impermanence invites us to approach life with an open heart, without clinging to the past or fearing the future. By embracing change, we are better able to adapt to life's transitions, Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a career change, or personal growth. The wisdom of impermanence can be seen in the life of Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. Jobs revolutionized the tech industry with his visionary ideas. But he also understood that change was a constant. He famously said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do." Jobs' work and philosophy exemplified Buddha's teachings on impermanence, constantly innovating, evolving, and embracing change in order to create something enduring. Buddha's last words, a call to action. Buddha's last words before his death were simple yet powerful: strive on with diligence. These words encapsulate the essence of his teachings. The importance of effort and determination on the spiritual path. Buddha encouraged his followers to continue their practice with dedication, without becoming complacent, knowing that the journey to enlightenment requires continual growth and self-reflection. Buddha's legacy is not just about his teachings, but about how we apply those teachings in our daily lives. By living with mindfulness, compassion, and equanimity, we can navigate life's challenges with greater clarity and peace. Buddha's final instructions serve as a reminder that the path to liberation is not a destination, but a continuous journey, a journey that requires effort, diligence, and a commitment to living with wisdom and love. In the lives of figures like Malala Yousafzai and Barack Obama, we see the embodiment of Buddha's call to action: living with compassion, embracing change, and staying committed to the path of growth and transformation. Their lives are proof that, with diligence and the right intention, we too can follow the teachings of the Buddha and strive for a life of peace, wisdom, and compassion. Conclusion: the everlasting teachings of the Buddha. Though Buddha passed away over 2.500 years ago, his teachings remain as relevant today as ever. His final teachings remind us that through mindfulness, compassion, and equanimity, we can transform our lives and the world around us. Buddha's legacy is one of practical wisdom, urging us to take responsibility for our own spiritual growth and to approach life's challenges with a heart full of love and a mind at peace. As we reach the end of Buddha's final journey, we are reminded that his teachings are not just historical facts, they are living wisdom that we can embody in our daily lives. From mindfulness to compassion, resilience to equanimity, Buddha's lessons are here to help us navigate life with grace and purpose. If you feel inspired by Buddha's teachings, share this video with your friends and family. And let's spread these transformative insights far and wide. Like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to this channel for more content that helps you grow, awaken, and live a life filled with meaning. Remember, the journey is never over. Strive on with diligence. See you in the next video. Glowing Star.